Yo, what's up YouTube?
Hey everybody,
Yong Sheng here,
Hongyi here.
and we are the Artbots team. Right, two of us today. We are fantastic to have Hongyi here, and today we're gonna talk about the first two phases: concept development and design. So Hongyi, tell us more about yourself first.
So I graduated from the National University of Singapore, NUS, with a degree in industrial design in 2010. But even before I graduated, I was already doing some freelance work with local companies in Singapore, specializing in 3D modeling and form finding. So some of the design consultancies I work with, they are essentially in two different aspects. One is in furniture, which essentially informs the form finding part, and the other specialization that I have is in electronics, which informs the technical side of design.
Yeah, so as you can tell, Hongyi had a lot of experience designing things in the past, and it's awesome that we have him in our team designing electric skateboards and other cool stuff just for you. So as you say, in this series, what we're trying to do is to show you guys who are trying to run your own hardware startup how we do the concept development phase. So Waiter broke it up into the 5 phases the previous time. So today we're gonna zoom in at the first 2 phases: concept development and design. So our chief designer, Chihuahua builder
officer,
sometimes as well, is gonna tell us more. So what goes through your mind? How do we start this process?
Typically the design process as well as the concept design is a very messy kind of a process. There's always a back and forth. You progress one day, then you regress a couple of days. But essentially, you can break it down into 5 different phases. So the first is your goal setting, right? So and then second is limiting your boundaries. The third would be the divergent phase, which is commonly known as your exploration phase. And the fourth would be the actual sort of hardcore design process, which is also known as the divergent phase. Then from there on, it bleeds into the refinement phase of design.
So it's important to start off with the end in mind. It's a common cliche.
Yep.
So goals, I think we can use firstly, thank you. Fantastic response on the FINIX. We have another video on that very quickly, but we'll just focus on these things today. So design. So let's use our FINIX as an example. What were the kind of goals that we were setting out to do?
So when you set goals in your projects, at least I think we did a team. We tried to make it a very end user centric. So we always try to imagine what our customers would want in a board, and there's no better way to do this than to put the end user as ourselves, essentially. So I think the FINIX design was informed primarily by my personal needs. So essentially what I wanted to do was to find a way that I could skate from home to the office here. The distance was about 30 kilometers, 30 to 33 kilometers, which is just a little bit out of the range of the artboard and the aileron. So essentially that was the goal that we wanted to do.
Yes. Yeah. So it's important. The first phase, always know who and what you're designing for, right? It is then you can go into the next phase. So the next phase after you set your goals is
you set your boundaries, essentially.
Exactly.
So the first boundary is your goal, and from there on, you start to decide on a little bit more details in terms of the boundaries that you wanted to set. So
give us an example. What kind of
will be
is a boundary?
So for example, the boundaries that we set for ourselves with regards to the FINIX was that we wanted a weight limit to it. So the design of the FINIX cannot go past 9 kg, and the boundaries as well is the range as well as the speed, your hill climb, and as well as the softer aspects of the design, which is is it easy to carry? Is it will it stand on its own when you prop it up against the wall, and things like that. So those little details sort of constrain the design and the concept of the board to a narrower focus that we could then work on.
I think it's also important to think about the process as we do because you're gonna make trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
The boundaries are the ones that help you kind of focus in on what's the trade-off to make. In the business world, in the product world, there's no perfect. There's always, are you going to accept more weight for like maybe more range, for example, or do you have a clever solution around that? And different kind of cost trade-offs.
That is actually the exploration phase, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So that then you go into, sorry for jumping the gun, but the next phase is the exploration phase.
So the divergent phase or the exploration phase of concept design is essentially you as a designer or you as an engineer weighing the pros and cons of each of the aspects of the concept of the design. So let's say, for example, with the FINIX, we could have gone with a undermount removable battery design, but the trade-off was that those kind of designs typically are not as robust as if the battery was inbuilt into the deck. So those are kind of the things that we juggle with. It's not just with the deck, but as well with the fusion drive, the battery design, as well as like how all the elements come together.
Yeah, so we start off from a goal, we put some boundaries, and then we diverge to explore the different elements of this hardware product. And then the next phase, then we kind of zoom it into
your conversion phase, which is your actual design phase. So once you decide on like all the different elements of the design, you sort of the next step that you need to do, the next thing that you need to work on is to actually be able to put everything together. So it's quite common in design to it's a common theme in design where it's always a battle between form versus function, right? So like, does it look beautiful or does it work well? But I think with the Arcbots team, we sort of have this belief, and I personally have this belief that your form, when well informed by function, is an elegant form. So everything that we do with regards to the designs of our board is that only when the function is elegant will that translate into an elegant form. So that's usually the kind of thinking that we go. We never set off trying to build a beautiful board, but we try to build a board that works perfectly, and when that happens, the form sort of naturally becomes a little bit more elegant.
Yeah, so that then kind of finishes up like the design phase, but once again, there's no hard lines around this. We're just using it for talk about it, because the next phase actually bleeds back into the next phase, which is prototyping phase. And that phase, we'll have Waiter back, in the next episode to talk to you more about it, because then in effect you had to bring it through to an engineer to think about the manufacturing side of things and stuff like that. So Waiter's gonna inform you more about that. So let's just sum it up again. What do we have for concept development and design phase? First one, set your goals, right? Start with the end in mind. Step 2,
set your boundaries, so you find where your limitations are.
Yeah. Step 3,
divergent phase, start to explore options and weigh their pros and cons.
Step 4,
the design phase, which is also your convergent phase, so you decide on particular aspects and you start working on the design.
And the last step
will be your refinement. So the refinement will be informed by the prototyping phase, so it's always a back and forth.
Yeah, so with that, thank you very much. We hope this video is useful for you guys. Once again, thank you very much for the great response you guys are having. Comment below. Yeah, it's stress for him, stress for me, stress for everybody, but we'll keep pushing things out for you guys, alright? Comment below, hit a like, hit a subscribe. I guess that's all.
See you all in the next video.
See you all in the next video.